Howdy, fellas and ladies. Okay, a bit too much?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. Anyhow, thanks for tuning in to our Roots High School online service. We're about to start our service just like we did last week. I want to make sure that you take the next 2 minutes to grab your phone, call or text a friend, tell them that Jesus loves them and that you love them too. Maybe remind your buddies to join, maybe even get some water, bring your pet into view. I always love to have the little critters in my room. So, I'm going to start the 2-minute timer right now. Howdy guys, hope you were able to make someone feel that they are loved and important today. We've got a great service in store as we finish our series, The Storyteller. Before we start, I want to encourage you to fill out a Connect card on the link above. You don't have to, but it really helps us get to know you. You can also let us know how we can pray for you by clicking the prayer request link. Don't worry, it's all confidential. You can even ask your host to pray with you right now with the live prayer link. Anyhow, hope you all enjoy the service, and I'll see you right after the message. Roots Online service starts right about now. Okay, this bit again. Now. Now. Now? Now. It should start now. Right? Is it starting now?
Here hidden glory in creation, now revealed in you are Christ. What a beautiful name it is. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a beautiful name it is. Nothing compares to this. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus. You didn't want heaven without us. So Jesus, you brought heaven down. My sin was great, your love was greater. Hey guys, thanks for worshiping with us. Hope you had a great week. Now check out this video.
Hey guys, welcome back to our fourth and final week of the Storyteller series. If this is your first time checking us out online, hello, I'm Tyler and I'm the next generation pastor here, and basically means I work with middle school and high school students here at Crossroads. And I'm so happy that you're here joining us today. And so before we really get into everything, I want to encourage you to fill out a Connect card and or a prayer request, and the link's right above here. And we want to know what's going on in your life and how we can be praying for you. If you have a prayer request, you can also click the live prayer button and your host would be willing to pray for you right now. Also, make sure to respond to the prompts that your host says in the chat, because we really don't want you to just watch this message, but we want you to interact with it as well. So let me start with this question. Have you ever seen American Ninja Warrior? I absolutely love it. I was kind of late to the show, I didn't really get into it until the 6th season or something, but I'm making up for lost time because I never miss an episode now. I always have it recorded. I go home and I watch a 2-hour show. I love it. And I really didn't get into it until I started rock climbing at a gym down here, and a few of the Ninja Warriors were climbing at the gym that I went to. So if you haven't seen it or you don't know what it is, it's an obstacle course challenge where athletes compete to get through a variety of jumps, swings, ropes, bars, and other challenges to hit a buzzer at the end. And that's the ultimate goal. And the top athletes fly through the course. And one of my favorite competitors is a guy named Joe Moravsky. He looks like a totally normal dude, and he's actually a weatherman in real life. But when he gets on a course, he crushes it. He's always one of the best guys on the course, and he just goes super fast. And when I watch guys like him, I think, man, if a weatherman can do it, surely I can. I mean, he makes it look easy. When other competitors fail, I'm like, how could they possibly not complete that obstacle? I'm pretty sure I could have done better than them. And then I go to the gym and I see some of the top performers rock climbing and doing their exercises, and I realize I can never do what they do. I can never be an American Ninja Warrior. I saw Jessie Graff. She was one of the best girl Ninja Warrior athletes. She's a beast. And I saw her at the rock climbing gym, and she went from holding herself in a sitting position like that, and she flipped her legs backwards and then moved into a handstand while she was just cooling down from the rock climb. And I can't even hold my body in a sitting position for longer than 3 seconds. And it's in those moments that I realize that being an American Ninja Warrior is way harder than it looks. And I have a new appreciation for just how crazy strong these competitors really are. And you know what else is way harder than it sounds and looks? Forgiveness. And that's what we're talking about today. And it sounds easy to say, I forgive you. We all understand the idea of forgiveness. Most of us could go to our life group later this week and have plenty to say on forgiveness because many of us have learned about it. And many of you could predict exactly what we would say about it in church. We know that someone hurts us, we should forgive them. We shouldn't hold a grudge. It's not a new concept, and it certainly isn't something you've never heard before. But actually forgiving someone in real life, it's basically like trying to be an American Ninja Warrior. Because forgiveness is easy until you have to actually do it. Jesus knew that even if we understood the idea of forgiveness, we would still struggle to do it. And the good news is, He hasn't asked us to do anything he wasn't willing to do himself. Jesus knew what it was like to be hurt by people. He knew that forgiveness is easy to understand and difficult to carry out. Jesus had to choose forgiveness just like us, which brings us to another brilliant story by the great storyteller. But first, a little context leading up to the story. Peter, one of Jesus' 12 disciples who was particularly close to Jesus, asked him a question about forgiveness. And so Matthew 18, verse 21 says, "Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brother or sister who sins against me? Up to 7 times?" Peter was aware that forgiveness is difficult, which is why he was asking just how much is required of him. It's like when a PE teacher tells you that you have to run and you're like, "How far? Because I don't want to run more than I have to." Running is difficult and painful. Forgiveness is kind of like that as well. And Peter wanted to know how far he had to run. So Peter asked, "Can I stop after 7 times?" And when you understand the context of forgiveness within the Jewish law under which Peter lives, 7 times actually went above and beyond. So Peter likely felt like his question gave him some brownie points with Jesus and made him appear spiritual and holy. So you can imagine Peter's surprise when Jesus responds in verse 22 by saying, "I tell you, not 7 times, but 77 times. What? Jesus didn't actually mean that we forgive someone literally 77 times. He had something bigger in mind that he wanted to teach, which is why he then pivoted to tell this story. Verse 23 through 27 says, "Therefore the kingdom of heaven is like a king who wanted to settle accounts with his servants. As he began the settlement, a man who owed him 10,000 bags of gold was brought to him. Since he was not able to pay, the master ordered that he and his wife and his children and all that he had be sold to repay the debt. At this, the servant fell on his knees before him. 'Be patient with me,' he begged, 'and I will pay back everything.' The servant's master took pity on him, canceled the debt, and let him go." So just so we're clear, 10,000 bags of gold is like millions of dollars today. This wasn't pocket change. The people listened to this story knew that. They understood, and they were probably shocked at what Jesus was saying. So think about it. What if you owed somebody $2 million and you didn't have the money to pay them back? And they wanted to have you arrested. You're so stressed about what's going to happen that you beg for them to not put you in jail. Then you get told that your debt just disappeared. You no longer owe anything. Imagine how great that would feel. That $2 million is just wiped clean off your slate. For someone to get a break on money they'd owe like this, we'd expect them to be incredibly impacted by this kind of life-changing event. But it's not the end of the story. So Jesus continued in verse 28. "But when that servant went out, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 silver coins. Immediately, you know what this guy's supposed to do. Easy answer, right? Given the gigantic debt that was just taken off his shoulders, of course he would forgive this tiny amount of coins, right? Nope. Verse 28 through 30 says, "He grabbed him and began to choke him. 'Pay back what you owe me,' he demanded. His fellow servants fell to his knees and begged him, 'Be patient with me and I will pay it back.' But he refused. Instead, he went off and had the man thrown into prison until he could pay the debt." So we may have thought the story would go a different direction, but this man became greedy and wouldn't forgive. And I'm telling you, just because we understand what should happen with forgiveness, it doesn't mean that it's easy for us. It's so much easier said than done, even when we've experienced it ourselves. But Jesus didn't let us off the hook just because it's difficult. He didn't say, "Oh, it's not a big deal." Let's check out his point in verse 31 through 33 as he closes out the story. "When the other servants saw what had happened, they were outraged and went and told their master everything that had happened. Then the master called the servant in. "You wicked servant," he said, "I canceled all that debt of yours because you begged me to. Shouldn't you have had mercy on your fellow servant just as I had on you?" No, duh. We all knew that. So continuing on in verse 34, in anger, his master handed him over to the jailers to be tortured until he should pay back all he owed. So the owner is like, "Come on, man. What are you doing? I forgave you way more than you had to forgive yourself." He missed an opportunity to show small forgiveness immediately after he was shown huge forgiveness. What was he thinking? Then Jesus adds an exclamation mark after his story. Verse 35 says, "This is how my heavenly Father will treat each of you unless you forgive your brother or sister from your heart." So what exactly does Jesus mean by this? Well, remember that it was a parable. It doesn't mean that you're literally going to be put in jail and tortured if you don't forgive. But think about it. The last time you held on to a grudge, who hurt you the most? You or the person you refused to forgive? It was you. Because refusing to forgive is its own kind of punishment and torture. The person who hurt you just went on about their life while you were thinking and stewing about what they did. When you hold on to an offense and a grudge, you hurt and imprison yourself. So back to Peter's question. Jesus, how many times should I forgive? Is forgiving 7 times enough? Nope. If you're keeping track, it means you still haven't let it go. You've forgiven enough when you're no longer being tortured by the offense that was done to you. You've forgiven enough when you are free. But that's not all. The point of the story is also to shift the attention away from what was done to us and towards all the things that we've done. Things that God has generously forgiven. It's a lot easier to hold on to a grudge when we see ourselves as the good one. But when our eyes are opened to all the ways that we aren't perfect either, giving other people a break becomes a lot easier. And let's be clear, Jesus has forgiven us a lot. He has forgiven us of a lot. And if he can offer us forgiveness for every single sin that we've committed against him, then we can pass that forgiveness on to others. So simply put, forgive like you've been forgiven. As long as we think that we're better than someone else and what they've done to us, forgiveness will be a tough thing to demonstrate. But as Jesus' story points out, it's all connected. Our ability to forgive others is directly tied to our willingness to receive forgiveness. And we can't expect forgiveness from others if we aren't willing to give it as well. For many of us in church, we have to remind ourselves that we're not as perfect as we sometimes think that we are. Why? Because our pride is an ugly obstacle to loving and forgiving others. Our judgmental attitude cuts others to the core. Our secret sins are bigger and could hurt more people than we care to admit. Our words towards our parents would surprise a lot of people. Our envy and jealousy may not show itself on the outside, but we know it's brewing on the inside. We have a pile of sin that Jesus willingly forgives over and over and over again. And I don't tell you that to bring you down, but instead to empower you to pass it along. Jesus has led the way in demonstrating the power of forgiveness. We get to follow his lead. Imagine if you had 2 cards in front of you. One on one side says, what I did to someone, and the other on the other side says, what someone did to me. Imagine if you filled out that first card with 1 or 2 things that you've recently done wrong to someone else. It may take a minute for you to think through, but even if you hurt someone unintentionally, it counts as an offense that you've committed against them. Now imagine filling out the second card, or the second side. This will probably come to you much quicker and easier. What is something that somebody has done to you that you're still holding on to? It doesn't matter if it happened yesterday or 5 years ago. If you don't feel freedom from it, then imagine writing it down. In light of that, think about your 2 cards or the either side of the card. what you need to receive forgiveness for and what do you need to give forgiveness for. They're connected. Freedom is found when you can give forgiveness and when you can receive it. And here's what you need to know. You have already been forgiven by God. A lot. Now it's your turn to pass it along. Forgiveness is easy until you have to do it. A lot of times it's also not a one-time thing. Sometimes we have to do it over and over again. Sometimes a person offends us so bad that we have to forgive them for it again and again. Sometimes we have to forgive someone for the repeated offenses again and again. You get it? The point is this. The story about the bags of gold isn't just about us. As with all of Jesus' stories, it tells us something about the storyteller, about Jesus himself. He forgave us so we could be free from the power of sin. But when we don't forgive others, we're not free anymore. We're missing out on the free life he wants for us. And that's why he tells this story, to remind us that because of what he has done, we have more power than we can imagine to forgive others. Again and again. It might even be a daily basis. But we need to forgive others again and again. So let me pray. Father, I just thank you for this message, this story that you told, or that Jesus told to us about the importance of forgiveness. And so, God, I just pray that if anyone here is really struggling to forgive someone, maybe it was a hurt that happened in their past, maybe long past, maybe short past, God, I just pray that they can forgive from their heart and they can be set free. God, we know that your plan is for us to live a free life, to be free from the pain, free from the hurt that we're carrying around with us, from the unforgiveness that we have. So God, I just pray that we can live in that plan. So we just thank you for your forgiveness for us, and may we be able to transfer that to others. We love you, Jesus, and we thank you so much, and pray this in your name. Amen. Thanks, guys, for joining. We will see you next week for our Own the Week series. It's a brand new series, and you're going to be hearing from your very own students. So we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. Wait, Tyler, I didn't write that. Well, thanks for joining our online service today. I hope the message today challenged you to forgive someone who may have been holding some resentment towards. I know it helped me. Remember, forgiveness is not a one-time thing, but a constant daily choice. And forgiving the people who you hold a little resentment towards is a great feeling, like drinking a cold glass of lemonade on a hot summer day. And remember, we'll have a Zoom meeting Tuesday at 6:30 with the rest of the high school students. Invite your friends to take part. Even the people who haven't been here before are welcome. Don't worry, Tyler doesn't bite. We believe the more the merrier with these Zoom life groups, aka bring your pets so we can admire them. They're very cute. Ask your leader for our meeting ID and password, or find it the day of on our Roots Instagram. We will also be having a Roots game on Zoom on Thursday at 7 for a chance to win a prize. They're pretty fun. I've been to a few. Check out our Instagram for more information later this week. Next week, we're starting our Own the Week series. This is where different high schools will take over our services. Students from Roots will be preaching for the next 3 weeks, so you don't want to miss out. Your friends or family might be preaching. Next week, Cam High will be the school that's taken the spotlight. Lastly, hang around a little bit and chat with your online host today. Talk about the message, answer the questions on the screen, and catch up with others from Roots. We'll see you all back here next week.